Welcome, everybody, to Real Estate Matters. I'm your host, Greg Fisk, and we have a special guest today, Rachel Oslund with LodeStar Inspections. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you very much for having me, Greg.
Awesome. Rachel is an icon within not only the home inspection industry, but the real estate industry at large. So I'm sure most of you guys know Rachel and have either been in one of Rachel's trainings or on a Zoom with her. But the one thing that I respect, many things I respect about you, your knowledge, but you're always educating realtors and our clients, which I think is amazing because we're in the business of educating and consulting consumers, and you do a phenomenal job of providing education not only to the consumers via the home inspection process, but agents in general. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. And for me, it's like the educating the agents makes it so that they can educate their clients better and then also advocate on their behalf. Because as fiduciaries, they really have to know what they're talking about to be able to educate and advocate for their clients, buyers or sellers. And then, so I educate, then they can educate their clients, the agents can, and then the clients know more, they take care of their homes better. Then when they go to list their house, it's worth more and easier to sell. And then the agents are there and they can make more money. And buyers make more money, sellers make more money. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. And, like you said, the home inspection is germane to the real estate transaction, in my opinion. I think it should be a part of every real estate transaction, and it's crucial and an integral part of that process, contract to close. And now we're seeing some pre-inspections, and even before COVID, there was sort of a move for certainly sellers to have a house pre-inspected so that they knew exactly what they were presenting to the public and the consumers. And now we sort of are seeing some walk-in talks in a very competitive market, and the home inspection industry has been flexible. But I think it's an integral, germane part of the real estate transaction. And you guys are, a huge part of our team as agents for sure.
Well, thank you. Yes, it's super important. Seeing people waiving them now is very scary.
Very scary, certainly from a broker standpoint, for sure. But I got the first thing is, what is a home inspection and what is it not?
Oh, fantastic question. A home inspection is a visual examination of the house. It's what we can see and operate just the way a buyer would operate it. So we're coming in and testing things, flushing the toilet. If the toilet flushes, but you have to hold the handle down and wait for 5 seconds, and then you jiggle it 4 times and turn in circles, while it flushes, that's not the way it's supposed to be. So that's the kind of thing that goes into the report. And what it's not is a code inspection. It's not a pass or a fail. It's not about age is not a defect, which I like, being a woman over 50, age is not a defect. It's also the same in a house. You've got some old equipment, the fridge, the HVAC, it all works. It's not going in the report if it's operating the way it's supposed to. We can't damage the house. So it's not your house yet. So we're inspecting it and looking at it, but we can't see behind walls. So we're just following the clues that we can find.
Absolutely. And, I always tell my clients and relate to our agents, there's no such thing as a perfect house, right? You're going to find some warts and some bumps and some scar tissue on every home that you look at, probably. Even, from a new construction standpoint, there are things that could pop up on a home inspection. So
yes,
I guess the ability for you as the home inspector to talk to clients during the home inspection process and not be alarmists or I guess in a way that's calming and educational is super important, I guess, as well.
Yeah, it's the big thing is, if you want to be a home buyer, and especially for first-time home buyers, it can be a real learning experience, and there can also be a big learning curve because you haven't had to be responsible for different parts of the house. And so what our inspectors are really working at is to make sure that the buyers understand that there is no perfect house. Every house is going to have problems. I think you've heard me say there's only 2 types of houses, ones that have problems and ones that are going to have problems. And if the house is going to have problems, then you can reduce the potential for having those by doing maintenance, preventive maintenance, and taking care of the house. But it also is that we've got to explain to buyers that there are going to be things wrong with the house, and any house they find is going to have something else wrong with it. So if the house is perfect for you, not perfect, but if it's perfect for you, it's the right location, it's got exactly what you need. So your mother-in-law has her own space over there and you've got what you need, all of those things, then see how you can make this work with this house rather than saying, oh, there's too much wrong with this, I'll move on to a different one. Because there are going to be issues at every house. You just have to kind of get your brain wrapped around it. It's a little brain shift.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, a home inspection, to me, it's important for a number of reasons, not only identifying those defects or issues that could possibly be a safety concern or health concerns, but also from a preventive maintenance standpoint, and just really a knowledge on the probably one of the most important investments that you're going to purchase. You know, pulling back sort of where the shutoff valves are, where the filters are, things like that that go into homeownership.
Yes, exactly. If you need to turn off the water to the entire house for some reason, you don't want that shutoff to be behind your big stack of boxes in the basement. You want to know where it is and that you can get to it easily.
Yeah. I'm always surprised when clients ask me if they need to be there during the home inspection. I was like, wow, wouldn't you really want to be there during the home inspection? You want to learn as much as possible about the home you're getting ready to purchase. That's my thought, I would think.
Well, I agree. And I think when we do home inspections, when the buyer can be there for, even if it's for 15 or 20 minutes, at the end, we can at least give them an overview and help them understand, like, this is where the filter goes in your furnace. Yes, there's a picture in the report. Yes, we wrote the size down, but you want a sense of, like, how do you do that with your own hands, like actually seeing it physically? And so working with people who are overseas or moving to this area, it's important to be able to have a video call or at least be able to have a conversation so that buyers understand what it's getting to know the house, and you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And, you know, they say, well, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but an explanation of that picture is worth 10,000 words then. Like for the home inspector to be able to say, oh, you know, the grading's not quite right. And it's not just a picture and a red flag. This is why we're putting this in the report, and this is what maybe would need to be taken care of.
Yes, you speak like you've experienced that.
Yes, for sure. What from home inspectors, are there certifications that come with that? Are all home inspectors created equal? Is it different from state to state if you're moving in from another state?
Wow, lots of questions and all fantastic ones. So number one, home inspections are licensed or certified state to state. So they're different everywhere. For example, Virginia was a voluntary licensing program up until just a few years ago, and now it's got regulated licensing, mandatory. In Maryland, licensing came into effect in 2008. And so in Maryland, you've got to take a class and then take a national exam. Once you've passed the national exam and bought a couple different types of insurance, then you're eligible to apply to be a home inspector, and then with the state. And then there's one jurisdiction in the state of Maryland that requires specific licensing, and that's Baltimore City does for rental inspections, and that's on top of the state licensing. And then you also have, we're all different. Everybody has different ideas about what's going to work and what's not. I've been doing this since 2006, and I've just got to say that there are as many home inspectors as there are drops of water in the sea. We're all just like every other group of businesses. And there are people who are going for the bare minimum, and there are people who are going way over the top and going outside the scope of where they should be, which can really complicate things. And people who are going just at the bare minimum also doesn't serve a lot of clients as well, because buyers have an expectation of some things that just aren't realistic with some inspectors who maybe spend 45 minutes in a house as opposed to 3 hours in a house. And then another inspector who's like, oh, I was there for 8 hours. Like, holy smokes.
Right.
So, but, you also want people who are members of different organizations. So the Maryland Association of Home Inspectors, or the American Society of Home Inspectors, International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. So InterNACHI. I've gotten really lucky because I'm a member of a couple different organizations. I've actually gotten to teach for ASHI, which is great. And one of my inspectors did a couple of weeks ago too. I got to talk about meth labs, and he got to talk about solar systems, because everybody has and not the solar systems, the Milky Way, but like
Right. Yeah, I know, solar panels are kind of a point of contention, I guess, within the real estate industry. There's a lot of misinformation out there, or a lack of information. So highly recommend, if you have solar panel questions, reach out to you guys, because you have an expert on staff on solar
Yep.
panel. So that's fantastic.
Yep.
You kind of already touched on it a little bit. You talked about, it's not a code inspection, right? And I know there's a lot of times where maybe clients or consumers have questions about, if the work was permitted, and you guys aren't the judge and jury of what work was done necessarily properly. You're identifying defects in the house, but permitting issues are different, like the code inspections. What areas of the home do you guys inspect? Because I know you guys can't like pull back certain things. You have a limited scope of what you can inspect.
Yeah, so what we're doing is, and you're right about the code inspections, and really that it is the buyer's due diligence to look up information about to find out about the permits. And that's a whole other conversation that we can have. And so what we're doing is running all the water and letting it run, because we want to see if sometimes the dishwasher's not fully hooked up, or the bathtub isn't hooked up underneath, the plumbing's not connected. So we're looking for leaks, and then just leaks, just because over time that happens, and deterioration of pipes. We're running all the appliances that are going to stay. So whatever conveys with the house, we're running the washer and the dryer, the dishwasher. We're making sure that if there's a fridge with an ice maker, that the ice maker works. If it doesn't, that goes in the report. Opening and closing the garage door, going in the attic, looking at the insulation, looking at the sheathing in the attic. We also want to check the ventilation up there and any penetrations through the roof, because that's where water comes in usually. And then looking for other things up there, and then looking at the foundation, looking for cracks, looking for evidence of water intrusion. And that started when we were outside, looking to see if the downspouts discharged away from the house, looking for any holes in the exterior that might be openings for critters. Now we're not, and we're taking the cover off the electric panel. That's the invasive thing we do. Take the cover off the electric panel so that we can see what's there with the breakers. And there we're looking for multiple things, and also with sub panels as well. And then we're looking for things there, but we're not taking covers off light switches, like switch plate covers, outlet covers. Those aren't coming off. So if we see, say, aluminum wiring in a panel, then we don't know if it's at each receptacle, but we are going to want you to have an electrician to come and evaluate it. We're like a primary care physician,
Yeah.
We come in and we look at everything and we say, okay, this all looks good, but your heart sounds a little funky. I want you to see a cardiologist. And I say, everything looks great. This pipe is doing something weird. I just want to have a plumber come in and take a look at that. And the plumber might come in and say, it's fine, it's funky, but it's fine. Or might say something needs to be done. But I'm not an expert. We're generalists, even though we have backgrounds in specific areas.
That's an excellent analogy. I love it. And then when we're talking about home inspections, typically we're talking about structural, mechanical, right?
Mhm.
But there's a plethora of other inspections that can be done. I know your company does a number of those. And when I'm talking to clients and or agents, I'm like, you could have upwards of like 5 inspections on one home, especially around here where we're at in Central Maryland with wells and septic systems. But talk a little bit about the scope of the different inspections that you guys cover. I mean, we could spend all day on that, but just briefly.
Okay, well, thank you for asking that. So and I just want to give a little bit to go with this. I'm going to say radon testing, which is simple test. It's 2 days. It's a leading cause of lung cancer death among non-smokers, and it's really easy to fix. It's my favorite problem to have with the house because it's like yay or nay. Above a certain level, you fix, below you don't. And it changes over time. But so that test requires us to leave something in the house for 2 days, and then we come back and get it. It's just actively sampling the air. And the Maryland Real Estate Commission is introducing a bill to legislature in the fall, requesting it be made a law that it accompanies every real estate transaction, a radon test,
Right.
like in Montgomery County. And then mold testing, which is a lot of people want just for peace of mind. I say just want for peace of mind. And it's actually a really good tool when there's been a water event, a leak of some kind. And this is a good way to give you peace of mind after a cleanup, or to help you see if that really is mold that you're seeing that's growing there. Because sometimes it's not, it's just dirt stuck to spider webs, stuck to something else on a wall. So testing for that. And of course, if you don't test, you can't say that it's mold. So you can't ask the seller to do anything with it. So part of it is getting that information. Sewer scopes, super important, because even in new construction, sometimes contractors will rinse off their tools down the sink drain or the bathtub drain, and the drywall dust was meant to be dry. Concrete it's not meant to be rinsed down drains in your house, and those can cause a blockage, and then you don't know until you start using the water multiple people or multiple days in a row, and the water backs up, and then you've got a problem. So it's not just houses with trees in the front yard or old houses, but it can also be new construction, and then flipped houses would be definitely want to do those because pipes age over time. So old pipes develop issues and need to be replaced or cleaned out or whatever, depending on what's happening. In Baltimore City, they even have some that are actually hollowed out tree trunks still as the pipes, which is kind of neat. Yeah. And then the other, what else chimney inspections. So we do those, and we got into chimney inspections because we didn't know of any other company that did inspections for chimneys that didn't fix them as well. And we saw a potential conflict of interest there.
Sure.
So we wanted to we wanted to get them done quickly. There aren't enough good chimney inspectors, so people had to wait a week, 2 weeks to get it done, and it just wasn't feasible in the time frame. And termite inspections, that's the other one that's like with a lot of loans, it's a requirement, would you say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's another one that we do, and we don't do any treatment for any of these things, so that we can just do them. And
that's awesome. Yeah, the wood destroying insect, I guess, here in Maryland is the one. And then also water quality. You guys do water quality as well.
Yes, we do. Yes. And that's something to be really, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's one of the big issues in all over Maryland, because there are different areas that have different concerns, different areas of Anne Arundel County with arsenic and other things in the water, radium in the water, and different grant programs also that address those. And then Howard County with radium in water, and some of that can be tested for free for the homeowners by the health department. Baltimore County has the same thing. It's the rock formations underground. So you want to have your well water tested, and you should test it every year, because it can get E. coli in it and other stuff. And then the people close to the water who get saltwater intrusion as the aquifer fills back up with salt water, that can be an issue, especially if you are using a water softener, because then you have double the salt in your water. It can really wreak havoc on the water, like your faucets, the water supply from your refrigerator, your ice maker. So all of those things are really good to find out about.
Absolutely. Like so many things to think about when you're going into a purchase. And one of the reasons that, I love you and the way that you educate the clients is there's so many things. You were talking earlier about mold. Like if you have questions, the real estate agent is certainly not the expert on any of these things. And, we're not even the specialist when it comes to identifying these problems. So it's important to have someone like yourself or someone from LodeStar on the team that can adequately explain, what these issues are and what the proper next steps are, to maybe bring in someone who is an expert or structural engineer or a roofer or, some contractor that could maybe, provide quotes. But all fantastic services that you guys do. And again, education is always a core component of that. What would you say, not to put you on the spot, what are some of the major red flags that you see, or some of the major concerns that you see when you're doing a home inspection?
They're easier to spot on flips than they are on really great renovations. But when corners are cut in when you're rehabbing a house from a cosmetic standpoint, then I'm starting to think, okay, there are going to be other corners cut. So that's my first place to think is rehabs, because people are doing, like, they've watched HGTV, they borrowed a little bit of money and they do what they can, and they don't know what they're doing. And I'm not faulting them for their optimism. I think that's fantastic. But these are houses and people are going to live in them, and then they're not getting permits, so they're not getting inspected by anybody. So it's basically you hiring somebody to do the work because you don't know how to do it. You hire them to do it and they do it, but they don't really know how either. So they're kind of just fudging it. We've all got YouTube, figure it out. You don't know what's been done. So I see things, GFCIs put in wrong or installed and they don't reset the buttons on those. And I don't know if you knew this, but those GFCI reset receptacles are designed to be tested every month. So if when you're working with a seller and you go to their house, if you were to test that, just trip it, press the button and see if it trips. It might not reset if it hasn't been tested frequently over the years, because it's designed to be used. It's like a car that will not function as well if you don't use it. So that's one thing that on a home inspection we're looking for. And some of those just go bad. It happens, they're mechanical items. So that would be one easy fix, and it's a pretty common thing. I would also see downspouts discharging against the house instead of extended away.
Yeah, that's a major one, right?
Big time. And it can be such a simple fix for and it looks like a huge problem. Like, this basement smells musty. Oh my gosh, is there mold? Hang on just a second. Remember when we were outside and there was that divot against the house where the downspout just emptied there, or the sump pump emptied? That's probably able to handle that. We go right to that corner, and 9 times out of 10, that's where the leak is, in the basement. You can just take care of it.
And like you said, it could be a cheap and easy fix, and it's just a matter of maybe an extension or something to that.
Yeah. And then it's grout and caulk in showers, around windows, bathtubs, the kitchen sink, all those places. Like, it's designed to be there, and it dries out, scrape it, paint it, scrape it, reinstall it, grout, add a little more, clean it, add more.
Yeah. I mean, and there's little things, I'm sure, that when you're going around and you're talking to the clients as well. Like, I like to tell my clients, look at the filters, see if there's like a scheduled maintenance chart next to the filters. If the filters look like they've been changed regularly, that's a good sign, right? But if you see an original filter in a unit, or that it hasn't been changed, maybe that's a sign that if there's deferred maintenance there's deferred maintenance everywhere. So look for those telltale signs of how the house has been cared for.
Yep. And clean off the top of the water heater. That's another thing.
Yeah. So real. What about, so we're in a hyper competitive market, inventory is really low. What's the process look like? What's time frames for home inspection? I know you talked a little bit earlier. I love that you guys are doing chimney inspections now, because when we get to the fall, we always have, it's tough finding a chimney inspection, right? Because they're all backed up with regular service and maintenance anyway. So I'm super glad that you guys are doing chimney inspections. But what's the process look like from ordering a home inspection for you guys? What kind of lead time do you need? What's the turnaround time on those?
Great question. So 2 different things. The one being the walk and talks. which we just have to be very careful to not call inspections. So walk and talk consultations or evaluations. Those some we can do same day. Those are just, I'm getting ready to make an offer. Can you come and walk through this with me? Talk with me about it for about an hour. No more than an hour, no pictures, no report. There we go. And then the other home inspections, because we've got 6 of us, we can generally get you in either next day, 1 or 2 days, we can get you in to get the inspection. And then some of the reports take a little bit longer to come back, like the mold going to a lab takes 2 to 3 days. The water, depending on the day of the week, because the lab's not open on the weekend, and it's gotta be done at a certain time so bacteria doesn't grow in the water. So that can add a couple of days. But home inspection report turnaround time itself is by the end of the next day at the latest.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess, the moral of that story is communicate with your home inspector, find out if there's different inspections that you need, what the turnaround times are, make sure you're giving yourself adequate time to have the inspections done, but not only have them done, but get the reports back, right?
Yes, and actually people do that, will call us or email before the inspection. Jennifer is our fantastic client care manager in the office. We're very small, so it's Jennifer or me you're getting on the phone. So when you but Jennifer will say, okay, you need results by I don't know, by Monday. Well, we need to set up the radon monitor now so that we can pick it up while we're at the inspection on Monday, rather than waiting and getting it 2 days later. So trying to get those tests done beforehand is the goal in those situations, because you don't want to be up against a wire really trying to make a rush decision without having all the facts and time to process them.
Exactly. We've already talked about how invested you are in the educational process. I know you have a fantastic website with lots of resources. Tell us a little bit about some of the resources that you have on your website.
Well, thank you so much for asking. So this was a labor of love for me, creating this website, because I wanted it to be a place where people could go and get information and not feel sold on stuff, like they're trying to be sold on stuff. So there's a page just for home buyers, which is also really useful for agents. I've worked with a couple of agents who require their team to study the website to get this information. It was their homework assignment over a weekend or something to read this. So there's information about, and a little bit of information and lots more about all the different services that buyers will ask for. And then there's also information for agents. So a sample report that the buyers might want to use it to check out, but also the agent might want to use it to practice writing addendums. They can download it. And then what you'll see is we've written the report in a way that serves both the buyer and the seller, because it reduces the potential for miscommunication. So every comment that we have is written following a formula. And I know that sounds odd, but it's like engage who? A licensed plumber to do what? Eliminate the leak. Where? Under the kitchen sink. Why? To reduce potential for further damages and mold-like growth, or whatever it says. For everything. So you can and there's a report tool as part of the report. You just click on that and you can copy and paste, and it makes life really simple. But the goal was to make it that nobody has to come back to the home inspector with a question. So if that happens, like, that's few and far between that we ever get a call because something's not clear.
I love it. One of my pet peeves is like when you see property inspection notices or addendums and it's vague, ambiguous language like address hot water heater issue or something like drives me nuts.
Well, and I think that's what had me learn to write this way. And my inspectors, I trust that they have the knowledge when I hire them. It's the training them to speak Rachel inspector language in there is what takes the longest, because it's different. It's a different way of thinking, but we wanted to get out of the ones that you're seeing. Inspector saw leak under kitchen sink, recommends that blah, 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 blah. Don't make me have to go through it. And if you're a new agent, that means you really have to work hard to understand what it is to rewrite it.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you write it wrong, then the seller's not going to, they're going to have to think about it and call you. Time is of the essence with this stuff. So how can we make it as simple as, I don't recommend it. If I weren't recommending it, I wouldn't put it in the report. I'm telling you to do it.
Right.
I don't care when you do it, but I'm just telling you to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, the more clarity we have between, I mean, ultimately it's between buyers and sellers, right? We're the conduits for these communications. And the more clarity we have on, obviously, home inspections can create a number of issues, right? It's
Mhm.
it's one of those hurdles that we have to clear on the contract to close process. So the more clarity we can have, the better it's going to be for everybody.
Yep.
I love that. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom for consumers and or agents?
I would say take your time and trust your gut.
Yeah,
The relationship with your agent is super intimate. And if you're uncomfortable, if there's anything that gives you a weird feeling, either address it with the agent or just know that's not the right person for you. But really talk to agents and get a sense of who you're comfortable with, because I mean, like you've got to be open and trusting. And you're so vulnerable with your agent, your lender, your home inspector. And I think a lot of people don't look at it like that, because you see an agent on a grocery cart go to Wegmans and you see that, and you see a big billboard of someone driving to the ocean who's got you're like, oh, do I call that person? It really is about who you connect with. So if you know somebody who does it, who's got experience, then go with that. But you also don't necessarily want to just go with your Uncle Bob, who just got licensed, because you don't want to hurt his feelings, because you also don't want to jeopardize your relationship over all the holiday meals and birthday parties
right.
And with the home inspector, if you call a home inspection company and you're getting quotes, you're also getting more than quotes. You're getting a sense of how the company works. So when you call, this is with everybody, but with home inspectors, especially because this is something I can have some control over, is you call and you want to have a home inspection, you leave a voicemail because nobody answered, nobody calls you back. And it's hours and hours later. Like, you're
Right.
calling to give them money and they're not answering. What
Yeah.
are they going to do? What are they going to do if you call back and you feel like they missed something and you just want to talk to them about something? So just consider that the respect that you're shown and the way you're treated from that first phone call, whether they answer or not, whether they call you right back or not, all of that plays into everything's perfect and we're all awesome in the best of circumstances. Are we going to be comfortable weathering some storms together? I mean, I'm not perfect. So I've, over my 17 years, had some things that people miss things. I've missed things, but I want to be able to bump into you at the soccer field or the grocery store or something and be able to hold my head high. And that's how our whole team is. So I would say, be patient, talk to people and trust your gut.
Yeah, fantastic. And, whether you're a consumer or an agent, don't try to be something you're not. That's why we have trusted professionals like yourself who can come in and
Yes.
it's another set of eyes. And again, it's such an important purchase. Why not take the time to do your due diligence and do it correctly?
Yeah. Can I bring one plug in that people may not think about?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of stepping into your lane, but people, when visiting new construction properties, like going to a model home, they have you sign something right away when you come in. And basically you're signing saying that you don't have a realtor and that you're waiving your right to a realtor outside of who they offer. And I just would recommend to everyone to consider that before you do that you are like David and Goliath in that situation. You're the little guy up against the builder, because the builder's got representation. The builder has lawyers and corporate lawyers, and they've got a real estate agent working the front desk who's friendly and welcoming. Nothing wrong with that, but you need your own protection. You don't want to be so if you go to open houses at new construction, you want to just say you have a realtor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes. You're preaching to the choir.
Yes. And that's why I wanted the rest of the choir to hear it too.
Yes, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I know your time is precious. I want to thank you very much for taking time and sharing some of your expertise and your knowledge and continuing to educate us. I highly recommend. What's the website?
It is LodeStarInspections.com.
Awesome. And I would imagine that's probably the best way to schedule an inspection or get a hold of you guys.
You can schedule, pick your inspector, pick your time of day, everything on there. And it's all there. You can text and email from there, and it's all right there. This book is even there.
Awesome.
I don't know if I ever told you that, but this whole book right there in the,
I
in
love
there.
it. What's the title of that book? I love the title.
It's called How to Operate Your Home.
Love it.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me. It's great to see you and be in your office with you here.
For sure. It's a pleasure. And as always, thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. Take care.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.